Welcome to round two, leg two of the 2023 World's Aquatic Open Water World Cup in Golfo Aranci, Italy. It's a fantastic race that we have ahead of ourselves today with the largest ever field to compete across the men's and women's 10-kilometer race. 156 athletes set to take place in competition today with 27 different federations. The largest race since 2019 in Doha. Of course, a number of household names ready to race today, but a big last minute out. Florian Wellbrook, currently number one in the world, will not be taking part in today's race. So very much excitement building out on the platform. As you may have seen before, water temperature officially 17.3 degrees. That means that today, of course, will be a wetsuit race. You can see the athletes on the starting platform now in their wetsuits as we move towards the rest of our athletes coming out to the starting platform. A number of new initiatives introduced to the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Series, and we will be displaying those today. Also out, a last minute out, we have one of the home stalwarts himself. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing Dario Verani of Italy competing in today's race. A very late scratching for the Italians, but there's still plenty of athletes racing for Italy in their home country. Of course, the main man himself, the reigning world champion over this distance, Greg Paltrinieri, looking to support a big crowd that have arrived in the Gulf of Oranges to support Paltrinieri and his fellow Italians. And a lot of federations using either this race, the race that was stage one in Egypt, and of course the next leg of our series set to be held in Portugal next weekend. A lot of the federations using these swims as selection races, but we'll hear our main athletes get called through shortly.
Però diciamo come linea adesso la partenza se la mettiamo almeno un attimo, poi ci spostiamo come arriva.
So of course we just saw Sachavelli get introduced for France, one of the main competitors in today's race, and in fact leading the junior competition, a new initiative introduced to 2023. Sachavelli, one of the athletes to keep an eye on, only 19 years of age, the young Frenchman, and I'm sure he will feature throughout the race, as will his teammate, his countryman, Logan Fontaine, who will be ready to race, defending his title, currently leading the way for our sprint champions. So plenty of athletes starting to make their way down now. You can see Kozubek of Czech Republic, a man on a mission. He's certainly one that should be in that lead pack. And we can see just how big this event has become on a world level. 156 athletes competing today, 84 of them in the men's race. And we are set for a frantic start, and of course, an even better race. Well, there he is, the man of the hour, Paltrinieri, ready to race. All the athletes now out on the starting platform and shortly moving into our starters' hands. As mentioned before, 84 athletes set to take to the water for this incredible race. Sorry, 85 athletes set to take to the water for this incredible race in Golfo Aranci. Back in Italy, it's been a while between drinks for our World Cup stops in Italy, and I know Paltrinieri and his countrymen will be looking forward to getting stuck into today's competition. So as mentioned before, if you're just tuning in, the official water temperature 17.3 degrees, hence wetsuits will be mandatory for all athletes in this event. So the biggest field set to take place today, which means this start is ever so important for finding your place in the pack and moving forward throughout the race. Obviously, we're missing the defending Olympic champion Florian Wellbrock, late out of today's race, but he will be watching along eagerly to see his competitors take to the water. He did have a fantastic swim last fortnight in Egypt as he took the win in World Cup stop number 1. So he's a laid out, which opens the field. We know that Florian does like to swim from the front of the race and control the pace. Here we go, into the starter's hands. So we're off and underway, and welcome to round 2 of the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup here in Golfo Aranci, a fantastic venue. Unfortunately, the weather notwithstanding today, but that doesn't matter. The men are in the water and thrashing their way through the opening leg with 85 athletes in the water. This start very, very important. You can see on the far left of the screen there, that's Paltrinieri all the way in his own clean water. Obviously, he won't take off too quickly. He doesn't necessarily lead the race from the start. He'll settle in as they get their way through this race. Interesting to note, though, that of course in 2023 there are a number of initiatives that have been introduced. One of those being our junior competition leader, currently led by Sasha Velli, as well as our points, sprint points leader, currently led by Logan Fontaine, also a Frenchman. So we'll see how those points will play out today. There will be points on offer at the end of lap 1, 3, and 5. We'll try and update you on those sprint tallies through Micro Plus as we get our way through the competition. So the Gulf of Oranges, Golfo Aranci in Italy, and it should be a fantastic race. An increased, beefed up broadcast. We've got cameras on the boats out there on the water showing the best action across the world as we continue to see this sport develop into one of the mainstays at the Olympic Games. Too early to sort of pick our leaders, but you can see the spearhead starting to form. The pace is certainly on here in the early stages of this race. We expect these men to take about an hour and 50 minutes to finish 6 laps here in this beautiful water. So we have our Italian leader out in front, the Hungarian, I believe that is Rosowski, currently sitting in second. So there is some talent out in front. A little bit of separation between our 5th and 6th swimmer, but nothing too drastic yet. You don't want to have to be too far back. It is a long way to get to the front. You can see Marcello already leading the way there for Italy and doing a fantastic job early. So the pace is certainly on. You can see it starting to string out. Those back swimmers certainly in a spot of bother. There is about 20 athletes in this race of elite talent. We have countries representing USA all the way through to obviously our mainstay European countries, the Italy, Germany, France, as our top open water countries thus far. We saw the number of world leaders get introduced right at the very end. Another great initiative of the World Aquatics in 2023. So the pace is certainly on. As you can see now, Goody leading the way. So we do have Italy leading the way ahead of Rosowski, currently sitting in 3rd, in fact. So it'll be interesting to see if swimmers do go out after this sprint money and continued investment into not only the broadcast but also the event and the athletes. The prize pool this year bigger than ever, with prize money on the junior competition, the sprint competition, each individual leg of the tour, and of course the overall winner. Last year we had dual winners, Rosowski and Paltrinieri, taking home the prize money there. We'll see how this plays out today. The sprint money we saw last fortnight in Egypt, that Sharon van Roendal really wanted to get out after that sprint money and did so. Not sure how that will play out in the men's race. Logan Fontaine controlled the race in Egypt, really making sure that he was a dominant force and led through the majority of the stops, hence taking over the prize, the sprint ranking through race 1. He isn't in the water today, but a number of athletes that race in Egypt are, and of course a number of athletes making their debut in the beautiful Golfo Aranci. So we'll see how it plays out. It still is Guidi of Italy leading the way ahead of Rosowski, and I believe that is too hard to call it from this point, but we'll get an update as they make their way down this first straight. On the far corner we get our Micro Plus update, and we'll continue to inform from there. So that's a great shot of the race there. You can see the top athletes really still making their mark on this race. A nice little pointed arrow at the front with about 7 athletes in really strong contention. There'll be some fantastic athletes just sitting off the pace at the moment. They'll want to make that move forward as they come down now to finish off the first half of the first lap. 6 laps ahead of them, but there are sprint points at the end of this lap which will call through. You can see the pace certainly on and stretching out some of those more inexperienced swimmers. We've got the 2 Gravely brothers of the US competing today, and they look to be in fine form. Very strong races over at the US Nationals about 3 weeks ago. Both of them will represent the United States at the upcoming World Championships, of course held in Fukuoka later on in this year. Most of the athletes competing today looking for a spot at those champs. Of course, they will double as the first element of qualification for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, with the top 3 athletes going through with automatic qualification, which will be a game changer for their preparations ahead of Paris. Of course, the following World Championships in 2024 will be held in Doha, where a further 13 athletes will be selected and a number of continental spots will be up for offer as well. But so far, it still is the Italian leading the race, and doing so quite comfortably.
Riesce a tornare indietro così piano piano.
So as we have our athletes turning the first half of the first lap here on Golfo Aranci World Cup Leg 2 for the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water World Swimming Series. Water temperature just confirming 17.3 degrees out there today. That hence why the athletes are racing in the wetsuits. We'll do another water test at the end of this race ahead of the women's. Of course, if it's under 18 degrees, they will as well be wearing their wetsuits for the race. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The tactics that come into a wetsuit race are quite immense. We know Ana Marcela Cunha set to race off 8 weeks of training as she comes back from her shoulder injury. She doesn't love the wetsuits, as opposed to Leonie and Sharon, who will be racing strongly as well. But so far, the men are in the wetsuits. The water temperature is 17.3, and the Italian has taken control of lap number 1. The pace just backed off ever so slightly. You can see the pack really starting to bunch up. As we've mentioned throughout the broadcast, this is the biggest ever World Cup Series race for the World Aquatics team. 85 men in the water as compared to the 25 athletes that have previously competed at the Olympic Games. It would be an absolutely immense start as we saw them take off the pontoon and start to bunch up. Be a lot of physicality in the water, especially around the turn cans. We go into a turn can now. You do want to be on the outside of this turn can, especially early on in the race. It can get quite tight. You don't want to lose your goggles, or even worse, go underwater. So we see our leader take through the turn can there. It is still the Italian ahead of the field. A great turn out the front. You can see as we get back into the pack, it does start to tighten up. If you can have some good turns around these, it can make a great difference to your race. We know we saw Kai Edwards recently retire from open water swimming. He was a fantastic turner. Use those to his advantage to move from the middle of the pack up to the front, but doesn't matter if you are leading, hence why the pace is nice and hot at the start. They knew that this pack was going to lead to an intensely contested race, and we have Guidi of Italy leading them through. And just that shot there shows the depth of the race. Absolutely fantastic to have so many athletes competing today in what is a hotly contested field. We've seen Florian Welbrock really make that transition well to open water swimming. There's a bit of chaos going on with the pack now. We've seen it split in half. A bit late on the call there, my apologies, but we have seen it split in half, so that means there'll be a change in lead shortly. I wonder what the difference in sight is. They're swimming towards the starting pontoon now as well. This will end lap number 1. I believe that's David Bethlehem of Hungary out in front. Got the inside tip that he will be looking to take out some of the sprint prizes. You can see that left-hand pack starting to make their way towards and create one big pack again. So there's a bit of chaos here in lap number 1, but the men handling it very well as they come down. So still one clear leader. I believe that right-hand pack might have in fact had the better line. We'll get a close-up shortly to see who's leading the way. Without Florian Waldbrock in the field, a late out was Waldbrock, the winner, of course, the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, and of course, as well, the winner of stage 1 of the World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup Series in Soma Bay of Egypt. He's out of the race. We know that he prefers to really go to the front of the race and control the pace, if not lead, sit in the top few out of the chaos, and then as the race goes on, start to lift and lift and lift until he drops the rest of the field. With Waldbrock out today, I wonder how that changes the tactics. We know that Paltrinieri is also a fan of swimming quickly at the front of the race, but not necessarily leading it. Bethlehem, though, is a big fan of leading races, and hence why one of the swimmers to watch for the sprint series. It is Bethlehem leading now, the youngster from Hungary. Unfortunately, just too old to compete for our junior competition. Sashavelli, our current leader in that competition, he also is a fan of sitting forward in the race. Marc-Antoine Olivier, though, second to Waldbrock in Egypt, just was a sprint finish in that race, so a very exciting end to the Soma Bay men's race. We'll see if it plays out similarly today, but we know the French are on song early in 2023. The French nationals, it was Marc-Antoine taking the race over Logan Fontaine and Sashavelli just being edged out for third. So plenty on the line for these countrymen today as they look to make their stake and claim their spot on the World Aquatics World Championships start list. Only 2 per country are able to compete in the 10 kilometers at the World Championships, so we'll see how that one pans out. As you get that shot there, a lot of athletes is selecting to feed on the first lap. We'll get an update on our overall standing as they come down, but you can see it is Bethlehem leading. I believe that is Marc-Antoine Olivier currently sitting in second. So we can see a few Germans in the mix, as well as, of course, our Italians, the hometown heroes, up the front and looking really good in lap number 1. But David Bethlehem up in the lead now. Quite a high stroke rate as he comes down to finish off lap 1, but still looking really comfortable. Bethlehem known for his early pace and wanting to control the race from the front. It's interesting to see him develop as an athlete from a youngster into someone that is pushing the likes of Paltrinieri and Waldbrock at an international level. But you have his work cut up against him. We saw the crowd getting behind Paltrinieri on his introduction. The hometown hero, the world champion, the defending world champion, and of course in fantastic form is Greg Paltrinieri. We'll see how he goes in his 2023 World Open Water Swimming debut at the World Aquatics Open Water Swimming Series. So of course, you can see the pack starting to bunch up here at the end of lap 1. There are sprint points on the line. We'll get an update at the end of lap 1 to see how everyone is standing. Logan Fontaine, our current leader, not in the race today, so obviously affect his standing as the current series leader. So points on offer here at the end of lap 1, lap 3 and lap 5. Another fantastic initiative introduced in the 2023 series. Let's see if anyone makes a break for those point series as they do in the Tour de France. The green jersey, ever so important to the overstanding ranks of the race. And you can see it really is bunching up, not only into the end of lap 1, the sprint points on offer, but into a feed as well. The chaos that is open water swimming looking absolutely alive and well here in Golfo Aranci, back in Italy, where we want to be for World Open Water Swimming. So we can see now, almost coming down to the end of lap 1, It has been a fantastic opening lap. Who's going to get those points? Bethlehem not quite in control here. There's a swimmer coming up on the left-hand side of him. The inside of the course must be avoiding the feed on the first lap. They've really put a big effort to get ahead of Bethlehem here. So who leads us through? We'll find out shortly. That's lap 1 done. I believe that's Rozowski who came through and got the points there for Hungary. So he's gone around his teammate Bethlehem to get the maximum points on lap 1. We'll get an update soon. It is Rozowski to Bethlehem, Schwelder in 3rd. Guidi, our early leader, currently sitting just off the pace. Romanchuk, Veli, Akarenza, and then we have a bunch of competitors in the mix. So it is a really, really intense start to this race. You can see them come through the feeding platform. It is absolute chaos out there, but they've done a fantastic job to manage their way through. We've got Paltrinieri currently sitting 13th place, 5.8 seconds off the pace of the front swimmer, in and amongst all of that chaos. But there was a fantastic turn of speed there from Paltrinieri. I believe he's actually in contention for the lead now. So that is lap 1 done, and about 40 odd swimmers sitting in this top pack in contention.
Più riesci a avvicinarti meglio è.
So our athletes now out onto the second lap. A bit of a gap forming between our first, second, third and fourth swimmers. Not that it's going to be a game-changing gap at any means, but of course this then goes on and has effects further down the line. The swimmer needs to get forward a meter. The second swimmer going forward a meter then opens up a gap behind themselves. So it does really have a flow-on effect what our lead swimmer does, as we can see them now coming down to turn into lap number 2. 1.66 kilometer laps. Paltrinieri didn't feed on that first lap. He moved forward from 13th to 1st after that one feed session, and you can see he's put the hammer down as expected. You can see just the turn of pace that Paltrinieri is able to have really does affect the rest of the pack. It is strung out immensely. A gap between 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 battling together, and all the way down the line to about 30th position. It has strung out because of that change of pace that Paltrinieri had had after the end of lap 1. So he has obviously foregone those points on the sprint title in lap 1, but really putting his mark on the race, as all the fans around would be happy to see. Gregorio Paltrinieri out in front for Italy and controlling the race in his debut of the World Aquatic Open Water Swimming Series in 2023. The reigning champion, the tide champion, with Rozowski of Hungary out and in action today. So we'll see how it plays out in this second lap, but so far Paltrinieri looking really comfortable up in front.
adesso da qua ci fermiamo noi. Guarda.
Ci seguiamo adesso.
So it still is Paltrinieri leading the way on this second lap. You can see it is absolutely on fire, the pace in this second lap. Bunched up on that end of the first lap, and Paltrinieri has moved forward. Aranci, a fantastic swimmer in his own right, sitting currently in second. Rozovsky in third, and the US swimmer currently sitting in fourth position. So the pace is blowing up, and you can see at the back swimmers are dropping like flies. A lot of numbers in the back of that pack. We don't want to see our swimmers falling off. So of course in Golfo Aranci in Italy, it's the return of World Cup open water swimming to Italy, and I'm sure many Italians and fans of Italian swimmers will be happy to see the return. The Golfo Aranci, formerly it's known as the Gulf of Oranges, established in the mid 18th century, and was established initially as a fishing port. In the early 19th century, the main port of Italy for arrivals into the area, hence the development of its population. Now prominently known as a fantastic tourist spot, and I'm sure athletes out there today would be experiencing the best of that Italy has to offer. So at the front of the race still is Paltrinieri, not only displaying the best that Italy has to offer in its tourism, but in its swimming as well. Paltrinieri has been a fantastic asset for Italian swimming for a number of years now, and his dominance at the 2022 World Championships were encapsulating of all of his dominance throughout his swimming career. It really did put an exclamation mark on his transition from pool swimming to open water swimming. Not many athletes have been able to do it, but of course Paltrinieri and Walbrook have led the way in this regard, as have some of the women that we will see in our next race. Unfortunately, the weather not quite turning it on today. Maybe we might get some better sights tomorrow of everything that Golfo Aranci has to offer, with our relays set to race. Another big out of the relays is Florian Walbrook. We saw how dominant the German relay was in Egypt. And of course, we have a full strength Italian relay set to race tomorrow. Be interesting to see if any of the other countries step up to the mark to compete with Italy. Germany obviously missing Walbrook, won't be at full strength, and the French always in the main competition. A number of countries looking to compete in that race as we continue to develop what is open water World Cup relays, and hopefully one day see those World Cup relays, see the relays competing at an Olympic level. I know a number of countries will be looking forward to that introduction, and hopefully we get to see it in 2028. But for now, we see our athletes turning down halfway through lap number 2. It has strung out, but no one really falling off too drastically. We have Paltrinieri leading the way ahead of Aranci, 2 Italians ahead of the Hungarian in Rozovsky. An ever so slight gap developing to 4th position, and again just showing you why your turns have to be absolutely on point here in the World Cup open water swimming. With so many athletes in the water, 85 today taking place in the men's race, it is always a battle around those turn cans. So you have Paltrinieri out in front in this race, and as you can see on the shots, not quite the most calm day in Golfo Aranci, but regardless, the technique that Paltrinieri has, whilst it mightn't be the prettiest, it is most certainly efficient and effective to break his way through the chop. One of the main reasons everyone was so excited for Paltrinieri to make the transition from pool swimming to open water, his technique really cuts through the chop of this race, as opposed to swimmers such as Florian Wellbrook, who has a technically beautiful stroke. Doesn't do too well in the chop. Did alright last week though in Egypt, as he took the win in choppy conditions, but this is really where World Cup open water swimming comes to fruition. In the chop, not always the best conditions is what matters, and we can see the Italians showing the way, almost putting on a clinic in this second lap of the 6 laps here in Golfo Aranci, home of round 2 of the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup. So Paltrinieri leads there ahead of Acarenza, Rozowski in third, Bethlehem in the mix for fourth, and we can see a number of swimmers, including Romanchuk, up in the mix as well. So we know how quick Romanchuk can be over 1500 meters and shorter. Let's see if he can bring that speed as he builds his way through this race. Remembering, of course, it's not necessarily the position that you're in now that will affect your overall position of the race, but you can certainly lose the race from this point if you don't make smart moves and move forward efficiently. But we can see there, it is Paltrinieri leading the race. In lap number 1, we saw a split here on this part of the course, 1.6 kilometer laps. We saw Bethlehem go a lot wider than the leader at the time, Guidi of Italy, and that really did split things up. They're going significantly faster on this lap, so I doubt we'll see anyone peel off to the side. But for now, everyone tucked in behind the reigning world champion and following the lead of the Italian hometown hero. So it still is Golfo Paltrinieri of Italy leading the way here on lap 2. Not even a third of the way into the race yet, and the Italian hero leads the way ahead of Acarenza, his countryman. You can see the race still intact here, lead group of about 30 to 40 deep. All the main names up the front though. We've got a little bit of a split happening here between our top 2 swimmers. I believe that's Rozowski on the inside of the course. Nothing too dramatic. We'll keep an eye on it as it unfolds. They've straightened up now as they come down to end lap number 2. We'll keep an eye out as well for our junior competitors. Sashavelli was sitting pretty in lap number 1. And looks to be still intact. So you can see now it's significantly different to lap 1. There is a much smaller pack out in front, and a lot of that has to do with Golfo Paltrinieri going to the front and leading the way. You can see His debut in 2023 is already coming to fruition with the lack of Florian Wellbrook competing today. Paltrinieri's taken it on himself to go to the front and lead the race. 17.3 degrees the water temperature, but you can see the pace that Paltrinieri is out in front. It's really starting to take an effect on the competitors in the water. Acarenza currently sitting in second. He's lost his cap now, which means that the heat is certainly on. As soon as start losing their caps means that the temperature, the heat in their body and going towards their head start to slowly but surely remove the cap. It is every swimmer's worst nightmare to lose that cap early on the race, but it just shows the comfort that not only Paltrinieri's in, but the discomfort that he's putting the rest of the competitors under. Saying that though, Acarenza in second position certainly looks quite comfortable sitting there behind his countryman of Paltrinieri. So it might have been a tactical move to remove that cap, sometimes just for the benefit of your training comfort. You'll do the cap removal, sneaky little cap removal, but so far it is Paltrinieri looking the best in the field. And not too much surprise there. Obviously a lot of competitors expecting Paltrinieri to be the man to beat today. I didn't expect him necessarily to go to the front so early on in the race and take control of the pace, but with such a big field, sometimes it's better to lead the race and have everyone sit behind you than fight with the rest of competitors and have to do it tough that way. But so far we'll come down to see who feeds on lap 2. We saw Paltrinieri move from 13th to 1st in lap number 1 off the feed. So he missed feed in lap 1. We'll see if he takes one here. Acarenza looks to be following the lead of Paltrinieri. We'll see if he comes in for a feed as well. Still a while into that timing gate. We'll keep an eye on the changes as they come through, however. You can see Bethlehem sitting back there in the red cap. His countryman of Rozovsky still up in the mix. Marc-Antoine Olivier sitting there as well, I believe in 3rd, 4th or 5th. So the pace might have just come off ever so slightly as they come in to this pontoon. You can see the effect of our coaches on the pontoon really starting to make it tilt. It's always a good watch, the feeding pontoon, see if any coaches fall into the water. So Paltrinieri coming through, and I believe skipping his feed for the second lap. So a lot of business decisions have to be made here by the swimmers. Acarenza comes in to feed, as does, I believe that's Rozovsky. So with Paltrinieri skipping his feed here, the pace is going to be absolutely frantic. Antoine Olivier now coming in to feed, as is Rozovsky. So this is a game changer by Paltrinieri. He's gone through and he has absolutely gapped the field. That is a massive move from Paltrinieri to skip his feed once again. So he's not fed lap 1 and 2, and he's got 5 meters to the rest of the field. Currently sitting in second, Acarenza Antoine Olivier in 3rd, and that's Rozovsky sitting in 4th after the feed. So this is a dramatic change to the race. Paltrinieri has well and truly flipped it on its head, making swimmers make a last-minute decision, and a lot of them haven't seen the move thrown down by Paltrinieri. And he has separated the field and blown up a lead pack of 1 and then a chase pack of 3. We'll see he has significantly increased his stroke rate off that feeding pontoon to change up the race. And let's see if any of the athletes are able to catch that lead. So you can see there Paltrinieri powering through the water. We'll get a wider shot in a second. We'll see if anyone was able to shut down that lead. But you can see the power there of Paltrinieri. His hips almost out of the water, aided by what is the wetsuit flotation. but his legs are going, which is a dramatic sight to see from Paltrinieri. He is really getting after it here. This is a massive move to start off lap number 3. He has gone after it early on in this race, wants the win today, and wants to chase down that gap that Florian Wellbrook has established early on in Soma Bay of Egypt. So tune in, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fantastic move here by Paltrinieri. He must have been doing some immense training sessions throughout the off season, to prepare for what is going to be about a 6-kilometer sprint. He has time trialed it very early on this race. You can see that gap's not getting any smaller to Acarenza. In fact, I believe Acarenza might even need for one of the swimmers on his tail to get around him. If Paltrinieri is able to get this gap out to about 20 meters, it's going to be very hard to shut down. So there is Marc-Antoine. Sorry, that's not Marc-Antoine. But our athletes chasing down Paltrinieri. You can see the gap not only to the second chase pack, but to the rest of the field is absolute despair for what Paltrinieri has done on that feeding pontoon. So clearly he had a plan coming into today to miss those first 2 feeds. Given the water temperature is a little bit cooler than usual, he's put some faith in his nutrition tactics. It will be interesting to see if that comes in for a feed on the 3rd lap, but he is well and truly getting after it. I wonder if this early strategy has any changes on how he pays out the rest of his race. But for now, we can just sit back and watch the defending world champion over this distance put on an absolute masterclass in his home country, with plenty of fans cheering him on as he makes his way through lap number 3. So that shot there, we have our lead 4 swimmers. We'll get an update on who they are very shortly, but Paltrinieri out in front. Acarenza still currently sitting in 2nd position. So those swimmers in a world of pain, but more importantly, 4 swimmers in that chase group. And then a massive gap down to the rest of the field. So they're going to have to sort themselves out very quickly to see who's going to make some moves through, who's going to drive that chasing pack up into contention. Keep in mind, Paltrinieri currently swimming at about a 101, 100 pace per 100, given the wetsuit flotation and obviously the stakes in the race. You can see that gap opening to what is swimmer number 5 overall. Can't even get a visage of who that is currently, but it's about 20 meters in between those swimmers, and then the 5th swimmer in fact swimming by himself. So if someone's going to bring that pack forward, not only will they have to swim faster than what Paltrinieri is swimming at the front, they're also going to have to swim faster, the fact that everyone's going to be sitting on their feet. So in fact, it is a massive effort to catch up to what Paltrinieri is throwing down. Of course, in the water, it is Paltrinieri. I think that is, as Acarenza starting to close that gap down. Paltrinieri is still spending a fair bit of effort, so I would love to know how Acarenza is sitting in 2nd position, how he's feeling. But so far, lap 1 and 2 have been very, very exciting. Lap 3 proving to be much more of the same. Interesting though, as we have our athletes in the water, we saw them come through the first 2 laps swimming strongly. Few athletes choosing to feed, few choosing to swim straight through, including our race leader Gregorio Paltrinieri. Of course, another initiative introduced in 2023, the cups used for athletes to feed at each feeding station, 100% biodegradable. So if they do land in the water, they will break down, so that of course the environment that we hold these incredible races out continue to maintain their great environmental standing. So lead pack of 4 swimmers now, 2 swimmers chasing off the back, and then we can see our main peloton really trying to take some time off our lead group. There are some fantastic swimmers in this race, a lot of them who have raced at a very high level internationally, so they will not like where they're standing in that second and third chase peloton. They'll be wanting to close down the gap, but of course with the reigning world champion out in front pushing the pace with every stroke, their chances of chasing down Paltrinieri are very slim, unless of course some of them, such as Romanchuk, can swim around a 14:34 1500 meter freestyle. But for now, it is Paltrinieri leading the way and in control of this race. So we just got an update on our top 4 swimmers there. I believe still Paltrinieri leading the way. Acarenza still in second, sitting comfortably. Did a fantastic job to shut down that lead of Paltrinieri as he missed that second feed. Currently sitting in third position, Carlos Garage Benito of Spain, and he looks really comfortable. The pace just coming off ever so slightly from Paltrinieri. You can see third and fourth, I believe, on the outside of the course there. It is our Hungarian Krzysztof Rozowski sitting in comfy. But yes, Carlos Garage Benito, born back in 2004. This is a fantastic swim. PB currently for the 1500 freestyle 15:11:50, so this is a monumental effort to be sitting this far forward in the race. I know it's still early stages, not even halfway through the race, but the young Spaniard doing a fantastic job to push up with our leaders. Of course, Carlos in amongst that junior competition, so Sashavelli definitely with some work to do if he wants to take the main points of today. So we've got 5 swimmers up in the lead pack now. We'll get an update as to who they are. In fact, we have just had Sashavelli unfortunately pull out of the race. That means he'll not only lose his sprint points from lap number 1, but he will lose out on the junior points overall. So Sashavelli out of the race today, which is unfortunate for the young Frenchman. He's looking off what is some incredible competition with Logan Fontaine and Marc-Antoine Olivier as we head towards hopefully a berth at the Fukuoka World Championships. But Paltrinieri switching off the pace ever so slightly, still in command of the lead, but we have our competitors starting to move up on Paltrinieri as the rain starts to fall on Golfo Aranci. These athletes really braving the elements today. Doing a great job early on. You can see that chase peloton trying to make some dividends into what is this lead established by Paltrinieri. They make their way down to the halfway mark of this race. Obviously the chaos that brings with it in a massive field can start to take into effect for athletes, especially those athletes that aren't so experienced in big pack races. I know our Italians love this sort of racing and do grow up in this tight competition type, so they'll be feeling at home not only because they're racing in their home country but with the conditions on display today. So Rozovsky now up in contention for the lead with Paltrinieri. I wonder if those early cookies spent for Paltrinieri will begin to take effect on the Italian. Coming down to the halfway mark of this race now. Interesting to see a split on this back lap. Once again, we saw it in lap number 1 with Bethlehem leading the way in field. This time Rozovsky sitting inside of the field. Once again though, Paltrinieri with some gap swimming by himself. So a lot of swimmers gone across to Rozovsky. I believe we'll get an update shortly. So you can see Paltrinieri sitting on the outside of the field, Rozovsky in the white cap of Hungary on the inside of the field, and a number of competitors sitting in tight behind. So very interesting tactics getting played out today. A lot of them we've never seen. There's sort of similar races to this. It's very hard to sort of predict what's going to happen in these conditions. 17.3 degrees, wetsuit race, therefore athletes trying different things with their nutrition, different things with their race plan, going out a lot harder than expected given the temperature. And the pack has formed and disformed a number of times now. We have the Hungarian Rozovsky leading the way over Paltrinieri. I believe that's Acarenza, in fact, by himself now on the far side of the course. Still got our Spaniard sitting up the front, Carlos Garich Benito of the Spanish Swimming Federation, in the mix with the big boys. And Guidi, our early leader, now up in the mix as well. So 3 Italians in the lead pack. It's a fantastic showing for these athletes. Coming down now, halfway into this event almost. So still another hour or so of swimming ahead of us, and we can see the number of athletes getting ready to feed once again. We've seen the chaos that can come out of these feeding zones. It'll be interesting to see if our leader through lap 2, Gregorio Paltrinieri, does similar. Rozovsky led through lap 1. He's coming down to lead through lap 3. He is in fantastic form, and of course the sprint points on offer for lap 1, 3 and 5. So Rozovsky could take maximum points here through laps 1 and 3. The ultimate goal is to lead at the end of lap 6, the end of the race, but we'll see how it pans out as they come down. Probably 150 meters to go to the halfway mark of this race, and what a race it has been so far. Plenty of action. You see Rozovsky out in front. Obviously he's been a mainstay on the world open water swimming circuit for a number of years now, breaking into it back in 2017. He has gone from strength to strength in this space. And you can see he's got such a beautiful stroke out in front, really powerful, a great distance per stroke DPS. He would work immensely hard on that. Of course, a lot of kilometers at the training pool, but more importantly, a fantastic technique, ensuring that he is efficient through the water, which is incredibly important over this distance, but more so incredibly important for the duration of his career. If he can keep those sort of joints in the best possible shape, he'll have a very long and fruitful career, which he's already had to this point. If you come down now, you can see, I believe that's Paltrinieri on the outside of the course, Rozovsky in the white cap. They'll come through lap number 3. Sprint points on offer once again. Who wants that green jersey? This is the chase pack now on screen. So the chase pack led by an Italian. We'll find out who that is shortly, but as they come down now to the halfway mark, it is Krzysztof Rozovsky leading the way. Paltrinieri sitting in second. In the top pack, Acarenza, he's been comfortably up the front for the majority of this race. So we can see now it is Paltrinieri taking the feed. Guidi of Italy sitting in 4th. Bethlehem in 5th. And our youngster from Spain sitting up the front as well. That's Carlos Garage Benito of Spain. So clearly a fantastic top 5. Carlos coming in for a feed now, I believe. Yes, he will take a feed, as will Rozovsky. So the pace just comes off ever so slightly. Paltrinieri now out in front again. So Carlos taking a very short feed there. Bethlehem going in as well to take a feed. So all 6 swimmers in that front pack feeding on the 3rd lap halfway into this race means there won't be too much of an advantage to be gained at this chase back. And some fantastic swimmers sitting in there as well. Aubrey leads them through. Romanchuk up amongst it as well. So Romanchuk, probably the fastest swimmer in the field outside of Paltrinieri, really struggling, 50 seconds off the pace. Olivier in there in the mix with Robinson. So some fantastic swimmers that have had success at an international level, struggling behind what has been a cracking opening pace by Paltrinieri, who's done the majority of the work of this race. So these swimmers are top 40-odd, 30-odd swimmers sitting 52 seconds off the pack of our lead 6, which is just a credit to the power that Gregorio Paltrinieri can display. So he is our leader now after that feeding platform. And we make our way into the second half of this race, lap number 4. And we will get an update shortly, but Rozovsky getting the maximum sprint points through lap 1 and 3. Be interesting to see if that's a tactic of his to chase that sprint money, or if he's just moving through the pack when he finds those opportunities. But all that and much more with Acarenza looking very comfortable in second as we make our way into the second half of this race. So we can see our chase pack there going through lap 4. They move their way. Sorry, that was the front of our lead pack. Just swimming some backstroke. I believe that was the back of our pack. David Bethlehem looking back to see how far away the second chase peloton was. He's quite comfortable, clearly out in front. 50 seconds the gap from the front of the race to our peloton. That is a massive gap for these swimmers to start to chase down. Romanchuk, though, out near the front of that peloton, chasing down Paltrinieri. It's going to take a mammoth effort, but if anyone in the world could do it, it's probably either Romanchuk or Florian Wellbrook, who unfortunately isn't racing today. So Romanchuk's been tasked with that, and we'll see how it plays out. But our lead pack of 6 swimmers, 3 Italians in there, 2 Hungarians, and the young Spaniard. We'll see how they play out as they make their way down lap number 4. So at the end of lap 3, we have a point score update for our sprint title. Currently leading the way for today is Krzysztof Rosowski with a total of 70 points. So 40 points, the maximum on offer on lap 1, 30 the maximum points on offer on lap number 3, 20 points on offer at the end of lap 5. So Paltrinieri not in the points in comparison to what of course is Krzysztof Rosowski. First through lap 1 and lap 3, he sits way clear with 70 points overall, currently sitting in second. Romanchuk, who went through in second position on lap number 1, and ninth on lap number 2, in lap 3, he sits second with 37 points, and currently third overall in our sprint points for round 2. David Bethlehem of Hungary, he's currently sitting in 34 points and third overall. So Krzysztof Rosowski clearly using today as an opportunity to maximize his sprint points. If he's able to have a good lap 5, he will take over Logan Fontaine, our current sprint champs, the leader through the round 1 of the 2023 World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup Series. So there's plenty on offer today. We've seen Sasha Belli unfortunately withdraw from competition, and we see Carlos, our Spaniard, up in the lead pack. He's going to be looking to make a dent. This will be his best performance to date if he's able to keep himself in contention. But we can see now the 3 leading swimmers, Paltrinieri, Acarenza and Guidi of Italy, leading the way. These competitors using today for their federations as a selection race for this year's World Championships. It'll be interesting to see the finishing order. Looks like the pace has just come off ever so slightly. The stroke rate of Paltrinieri is slowed down, as has his kick. You can still see those hips sitting nice and high though. That is obviously a benefit of the wetsuit. Rosowski sitting currently in 6th position, just at the back of that lead pack, but sitting very comfortably after his sprint through at the end of lap 3. But similarly, in 2022, it is Paltrinieri controlling the pace. Went to battle with Wellbrock at last year's World Championships and walked away the gold medalist with a dominant performance. Haven't really seen that happen to Wellbrock in the past. He has obviously had a fantastic transition from pool to open water swimming, and it has been Wellbrock, Paltrinieri and Krzysztof Rosowski as the main champions of our sport of the last sort of 5 years. There's a number of names that want to sort of push their way into contention there, Acarenza being one of them, the fellow Italian. And it's interesting to see how their different techniques play a part in their performance, but they would be in a little bit of pain at this point of the race. There's still a fair bit of racing ahead of them, so they'll be preparing themselves for what comes next. Expect another big surge in lap 5. For now, they're just sitting pretty and enjoying the sights that are Golfo Aranci. Been some incredible destinations selected for this year's World Cup Series, and I'm sure the athletes are very happy that they're able to race in such fantastic venues. So we've just received word as well, Andrea Zoppi of Italy has withdrawn from the race. So number 65 and 66, that's Andrea Zoppi and Sasha Belli, both withdrawn from the race. We'll see how this plays out as they make their way through lap number 4. Obviously the pace having something to do with why swimmers are withdrawing. Add to that, of course, the water temperature being 17.3 degrees and 85 athletes in the water. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted, but that is why open water swimming is one of the best sports in the world. Anyone can come out and have a fantastic day. It really does come down to your positioning in the race, and that's why we can see Carlos Garage Benito having a fantastic race here up in the near the lead, and doing a great job. But still Paltrinieri, our leader, as they come down to finish off lap number 4, make their way back down lap number 4. Halfway through this one, you can see that chase pack still rolling through with a head of steam, but it's going to take a massive effort, as we've said throughout this competition. So in addition to those earlier DNFs, we've just had Senzullo of Italy withdraw. Number 18 has unfortunately also been pulled out of the race. Senzullo out. He wasn't in our lead pack of 6, so that's not going to dramatically affect our overall finishing standings, but obviously best wishes to Senzullo as he goes forward. Once again, a clean turn there by Paltrinieri, a little bit wide as he went around the can. He could have afforded to be closer, but you can see our competitors in that lead pack really tucking in nice and tight. They've gone well inside the course here as they cut back to come down and finish off lap number 4. Paltrinieri still out in front, looking very comfortable. Not a lot of work going into those legs currently. Acarenza still currently sitting in second. I believe that's Marcelo Guidi currently in the mix for 3rd position. Bethlehem just behind the camera shot there in 4th for Italy, sitting next to Krzysztof Rosowski and the young Spaniard in the mix as well. So plenty of athletes looking to be up in the mix. You can see at the chase back still fighting hard. I believe that's Romanchuk out the front of the chase back, trying to chase down the lead. You can see his beautiful technique coming together. Much like Florian Welbrook, he has a fantastic pool swimming technique that he has adapted to see success in the World Open Water Swimming Series. Hasn't yet tasted the ultimate success of a World Championships gold in the open water realm, but he is doing a fantastic job as they try and chase down our lead pack, probably about 50 to 60 meters off the pace. So they have taken a little bit of a gap off Paltrinieri and the lead pack of 6, but still a fair bit of work ahead of them, with of course Paltrinieri and those swimmers up the front looking to increase the speed as they move down towards the end of lap 4, and of course going into the back third of this race. 1.66 kilometer laps, so expect some fast racing as we move towards the finish. So you can see now with that shot, the lead swimmers sitting in the inside of the course, and we've got our chase pack just going past the halfway mark of the back half of this lap number 4. So there's still a substantial gap between the two packs, and it has come at the fortune of a smart feeding strategy from Paltrinieri. He skipped his feeds in lap 1 and 2, and that second feed he was at the front of the race, and he just shot through with all swimmers scrambling to make the difference. We saw Acarenza get through quite comfortably alongside Carlos Garage Benito, but Bethlehem and Rozovsky as well as Guido really had to fight to get up to our leader in Paltrinieri, and now they're sitting comfortable ahead of what is probably the scariest sight in swimming, that chase pack with some absolute superstars of the sport. But as the weather starts to clear off a bit, you can see, whilst there still is a fair bit of chop, there's still, you can see the conditions starting to become a bit riper, so the speed will pick up in tow of that as the rain holds off here in Italy. You got to see how good this venue is for open water swimming, and what a backdrop we have. One of the hotspot of tourism in Italy, Golfo Aranci. If you're ever in the area, I do recommend checking out the sites. The Gulf of Oranges, as it's fondly known. Of course, as we've said throughout the broadcast, 17.3 degrees the water temperature today. It will get taken again at the conclusion of the men's race ahead of the women's, and we'll find out if their race will of course be a wetsuit race as well. Changes to the World Aquatics rulings this season introduced now. Formerly known, under 18 degrees was a compulsory wetsuit, 18 to 20 degrees was wetsuit optional, and 20 degrees plus was a race suit. Now in 2023, under 18 degrees wetsuit mandatory, and over 18 degrees plus is race suit mandatory. So no longer the decision of the athlete, and we'll see that come to fruition throughout the season, specifically of course today potentially for the women's race, but again for next week we head to Setúbal in Portugal to see what the water temperature is there. We saw that wide shot of the field just before. There's a swimmer just off to the right. I believe that's a German swimmer. It might be Oliver Clement chasing down the lead pack. He's gone off by himself, well wide of our peloton. If not Oliver Clement, we'll find out who it is very shortly. We saw how dominant the Germans were in Egypt, with of course not only Florian Wellbrook taking the win, Leonie Beck taking the win, but the relay really strong as well. They've used the first two stops of this World Cup series for selection for their World Championships team. So that could be Oliver Clement or Rob Muffles, potentially, both of them. Fantastic swimmers in this domain. We'll see who it is as they come down to finish off lap 4 here, but an interesting move to separate themselves from that chase pack and get some free water, try and chase down what is Paltrinieri and our top 6 swimmers. Very brave move once again, but you have to make those decisions to chase down, and you can see the German now out by themselves, really trying to make a difference in this 4th lap. So Paltrinieri will lead us through Acarenza, Guido, we've got Carlos in there, as well as Rozovsky and Bethlehem. So we saw lap 2 a change in the feeding strategy. It looks like it will be Paltrinieri taking a feed here. He does. Comes through Paltrinieri, Acarenza, Bethlehem, Guidi, Carlos Garage Benito, and of course Christoph Rozovsky currently sitting in 6th position. Rozovsky comes in for a feed as well. Tell you what, this is a very impressive swim here by Carlos Garage Benito. A breakout performance for the young Spaniard, just 18 years of age, to hold the feet of the likes of Paltrinieri, Acarenza, Bethlehem. It is a fantastic performance. You can see once again a gap establishing from 2nd to 3rd. It is Paltrinieri with Acarenza on his feet. So it is Oliver Clement, the chase German, currently sitting 7th, 41 seconds off the pack, but more importantly, he's 16 seconds ahead of Philadelphia of Italy and Tobias Robertson in that chase pack as well. So they've opened up the gap in front, in fact the front 6 swimmers, but Oliver Clement has taken 5 seconds off them in that lap. Earlier, they went through 52 seconds ahead of the chase pack, but Clement has not only found his way out of the pack, he's found his way to the front of that pack and well and truly separated himself. So we do have our lead 6, then Clement from Germany, and then we have a big chase pack which includes a number of superstars of our sport. You can see Romanchuk and Marcel Schouten go through there for Czech Republic and Netherlands respectively. So on to lap 5, once again a sprint lap. We'll wonder if we'll see Krzysztof Rosowski make a move once again. But for now, Paltrinieri just looking too strong for the rest of the field as we see our chase peloton making their way through. The pace is still on at the front of that pack. As we pan forward though, we can see the German Oliver Clement really putting in the big ones. He's established himself as the second best German on the open water scene in the last couple of weeks behind Florian Wellbrook. Good company to be in. As we look there though, that's Oliver, sorry, out the front it is Carlos Garage Benito of Spain. He's starting to lose his cap, so the pain's starting to set in here. All swimmers in that front pack outside of Paltrinieri, and at the back there that is Krzysztof Rosowski keeping that caps. Everyone else has lost it. You can see now Paltrinieri starting to lose his cap, so that's quite an impressive task. 17.3 degrees temperature in the water. To lose your cap, it means they will be working very hard. Obviously the wetsuits they're wearing do a fantastic job at insulating them from the cold, but to work hard enough to start to lose your cap, it means the pace is well and truly on in this race. Not a lot of tactics have come into today's race outside of feeding strategies, with the pace being very hot from the beginning. I really do like though the moves from Krzysztof Rosowski. He has conserved his energy when possible. He's sitting currently in 6th in this lead pack, but he's managed to get his way to 1st at the end of lap 1 and 3. But we expect to see some big moves here in lap number 5. Paltrinieri still out in front, Acarenza sitting 2nd, Guido in 3rd with Bethlehem, Carlos Garage Benito, and of course the man from 2022, Krzysztof Rosowski. There he is popping into the screen now. The white cap, the Hungarian. Bethlehem, his countryman, was previously in a red cap from Hungary. He's lost that cap due to the pace in the water. Of course, we'll have our officials watching along closely and collecting those caps where possible. It's also a fantastic initiative, as we said previously. The spectators would be pleased to know that in 2023 we've moved to 100% biodegradable feeding cups, which means that of course the environment that we race in will continue to remain a beautiful place to not only race but also visit. And Golfo Aranci is certainly one of those that you add to the bucket list, especially if we're able to return in 2024 for another World Cup stop. For now though, we'll kick back, we'll watch what has been a fantastic race so far, the debut of Paltrinieri in the 2023 World Aquatics season, and we'll see how these athletes attack the last 2 kilometers of this race in what has been a thrilling start to the Golfo Aranci round.
Perché io dopo questa schiera rossa, dopo questa boa inizio a perdere un po' il segnale.
So we've just actually heard word Romanchuk of the Ukraine has unfortunately withdrawn from the race. So it's a big blow to that chase pack to lose Romanchuk, one of the fastest distance swimmers in the world. He's out. But more importantly, turning back to the front, you can see Krzysztof Rosowski storming his way through this field. He's gone from 6th into up on the shoulder of Gregorio Paltrinieri. So he's been our leader through all the sprint checkpoints. So he's clearly out for intent to compete for those. But in lap number 4, after that impressive effort to come through and lead lap 3. He sat at the very back of the pack with the Spaniard and really conserved his energy. But here you can see him go. Krzysztof Rosowski, just an absolute stalwart of the sport now, and you can see the experience. Despite the size of the field, he has played his cards brilliantly when required. You can see that strong stroke that is the Hungarian come to the front of the race now, and in fact almost look like Paltrinieri is not even moving. The strong stroke that is the Hungarian. This is an impressive showing. Krzysztof Rosowski, he's our leader now in lap number 5. So at the end of this lap, the final sprint points on offer will be awarded, and Rosowski, if he collects them, will have taken the maximum amount of points today, 90 points, and be our overall series leader, I believe, if he's able to maintain that. Current leader Logan Fontaine not in action today, and as we get that fantastic drone shot of the field, we can see Oliver Clement of Germany really starting to make some waves into that front pack of 6. So we've got 3 swimmers out in front. Rosowski leads Paltrinieri, Acarenza. Then we've got our 3 competitors in Bethlehem, I believe. Sorry, we'll go back to that shot in a second. Carlos Grach, Benito, and of course Marcello Guidi of Italy, all in contention for that lead pack. But Oliver Clement of Germany, he had a fantastic race in Egypt, but an incredible relay as well, and has put the world on stop here as he's chasing his way into what is a star-studded lineup in our front pack of 6. If Clement can close down that gap, I wonder if he'll have enough energy to compete for the finish. So here we have this drone shot, and you can see how much time Clement has eaten into this lead pack. He has left that chase group for dead in the last lap and a half, and he is doing a fantastic job to shut down this lead now held by Rosowski. So back to the action. They make their way down the halfway mark of lap number 5. That chase peloton will not feature in today's medals unless something drastic happens to our lead pack. But Rosowski out in front, he's putting in some big strokes at the moment. The legs really being brought into it. You can see he is absolutely a class athlete. I remember a win of his back in 2019 in Stubble. He just absolutely dominated the field. 2018, in fact, sorry. In the wetsuit, he is a class wetsuit swimmer. He was able to go to the front, in fact, in the last lap, not the second last lap, and just control the race from that point. And you can see he's opened up a little bit of a gap to Paltrinieri. I expect him to close that down as we move forward. But Paltrinieri has had to do a lot of work throughout the race, usually the one leading the break, not in fact chasing it down. But it is sitting on Paltrinieri, who has now lost his cap, which we were talking about earlier. But how's this swim from Oliver Clement of Germany really trying to shut down what is this front pack? He's left the chase pack for dead. He's about 20 seconds off the lead of our front swimmer in Krzysztof Rosowski. Still 6 swimmers in that lead pack ahead of Clement. And we know that they won't be too enthused to see the German moving forward. But regardless, it's setting itself up for a cracking race. If Rosowski can hold this pace, so I expect some of these swimmers to drop off. The Spaniard just holding on now. Carlos Garrich Benito, just 18 years of age. He's still competing very strongly, but he is in a spot of bother here. So we watch Rosowski go around this turn can to come down and finish off lap number 5. Halfway through now, in fact, a very good turn there. Just got caught up on the far side of the can, as did Paltrinieri. Acarenza within striking distance. You can see Bethlehem currently sitting in 5th position. So there are some star swimmers in this field. We've seen them split up here. The weather's starting to roll in once again, so the conditions have taken a turn for the worse. And I am very, very impressed with Oliver Clement, the German, starting to chase down what is a lead pack of 6. But I tell you what, they are in a bit of trouble here. Rozovsky now with his own water, bringing those legs in. He has got about a 2-meter gap to the rest of the field. It's going to be a cracking end to the race. I believe we're up to about 8 athletes now who've had to withdraw, unfortunately. We've just lost Vincenzo Casso, another Italian, out of the race, just showing how hard these conditions are and how fast this race has been. Rozovsky leads the way. He's won lap 1, 3, and 5, despite the fact that it has been Paltrinieri, the main competitor, in charge of this race. He's timed his runs perfectly. He slowed down ever so slightly in lap 4, just sat at the back of the lead pack and was quite content to let Paltrinieri control the race. But now out in front, the Hungarian looking very strong. Oliver Clement, though, he keeps taking time off that front pack. I would be very worried if I was Paltrinieri. Probably isn't aware of the German chasing down the lead group, but it's going to make for some great racing for those at home watching along closely, or those, of course, lucky enough to be watching alongside this incredible venue. So it's only a matter of time now until Clement is able to chase it down. You can see as he is swimming by himself, he's able to pick his own line, not conducive to what the lead pack is doing. He'll have a much straighter line if he's able to nail down those sightings, what it looks like he is doing. You can see now at the back of the lead pack, it is still our Spaniard doing a great job, but just starting to fade ever so slightly. That is Carlos Garch Benito. He has been in the mix all day at the front of this race, and it's paying dividends here. The 18-year-old will be up in line with Sashavelli for what I expect to be the lead junior at the end of today's race. In fact, he might even take over from Sashavelli. We'll see as this race unfolds. Regardless, though, Rozovsky controlling this race as he comes down to finish off lap 5. Paltrinieri sitting comfortably in 2nd, up on the feet now, so he has closed down that gap. But Oliver Clement continues to do a fantastic job sitting in 7th. He swum all the way almost up to this lead pack, leaving that chase peloton behind. It'll be interesting to hear the thoughts of these athletes once they finish and exit the water as to what happened when Paltrinieri made that pivotal move at the end of lap 2. I'm sure none of them would have been too excited about the fact of Paltrinieri skipping that feed and deciding to put the jets on. But regardless, you have to deal with the conditions that are laid out in front of you, and clearly Paltrinieri came in with that game plan today to leave the field behind. So halfway through the back end of lap number 5, and it still is Rozovsky out in front. At the end of each sprint lap, Rozovsky has made his way back to the back of the field. Be interesting to see if he does that at the end of lap 5 as well. With 1 lap to swim, obviously he'll be wanting to contend for the overall win. I'd say there'll be 7 swimmers looking to do that, as well as Oliver Clement is taking more and more time off our lead swimmers. He is doing a fantastic job, the German. He's made his way a minute down, a massive deficit to overcome all by himself. He made this move about 1.6 kilometers ago, and he has well and truly moved closer to that lead pack. There's been some fantastic shots of the action today, thanks to our broadcast team. As we see our coaches out on the platform, wouldn't expect too many athletes to come in for a feed here with 1 lap to go. The pace is truly on, and they won't have much time to take in those fluids, nor will the fluids make too much of a difference to their performance. As you can see from that shot there, Oliver Clement just off the back of our lead pack. Rozovsky, though, in control. He should come through and lead through lap 5 and take home the maximum amount of points today for our sprint titles. So you can see there in that shot, they're about 100 meters away. Rozovsky leading the way ahead of Gregorio Paltrinieri, who has been in charge of this race through laps 2, 3, and 4. Lap 5 has belonged to the man in front now, Krzysztof Rozovsky. These two battled throughout the 2022 season, and they're going to get another battle here today if Oliver Clement, who's come from way back, doesn't have anything to say about it. So our lead pack now about to go through this lap, and you can see in that shot the chase group not too far off either. They've had a better line here than our lead group. Rozovsky clearly needs to do some work with his sighting, but regardless, he leads us through. So the gap after lap number 4 was 1 minute and 2 seconds between the lead group and the chase group. Will be some absolute chaos if they can bring it closer, but I expect not too much change has happened. Rozovsky, though, leads us through, so he takes home the max points for our sprint titles. 128.49 through lap number 5. This is a cracking split, and we expected that to be much of the same today in the wetsuits. Oliver Clement now in touch with the feet of our lead pack. Paltrinieri, in fact, taking a feed there, so clearly the early pace taking a somewhat of an effect. Sorry, that was Acarenza. Rozovsky takes a feed as well. Didn't expect either of those. Luckily, Rozovsky drops that in the water, but that is 100% biodegradable cup, so not a worry for the environment. Rozovsky still in charge. Acarenza sits comfortably in second. Bethlehem in third. And now it is Paltrinieri sitting in fourth next to the Spaniard. And Oliver Clement is in touch with our pack. So it'll be interesting to see what the move is here for Clement. He doesn't want to spend too much time sitting at the back there. There's only 1.6 kilometers left to swim. Bethlehem, in fact, on the inside of the course, really making a move now. Clement on his feet. That is Paltrinieri in the middle of the field, and Rozovsky really still in charge of this race. But there's plenty of action ahead of us with 1.6 kilometers to go. 7 athletes contending for the win here. Back to the main chase pack. It is Schwindler of Germany still leading that chase pack. They will not get in the mix for the overall title today, but there are some fantastic athletes who are competing, and of course a number of athletes looking to be putting their name forward for selection for this year's World Championships set to be held in Fukuoka. A number of teams, of course, already selected, including the US team competing today with the Gravely brothers both up in the action of that chase pack. They will be representing the United States at the World Championships. We don't have any Australian men competing today, although we do know Bailey Armstrong, Nick Sloman will be representing Australia in the 10-kilometer race at Fukuoka. Of course, those athletes looking to compete with our best to see who will be going through in the first stage of qualification for the 2024 Olympic Games. The top 3 athletes at the World Champs this year, automatic qualification. They'll get a free run of training into the Olympic Games, and there'll be a number of athletes looking to take that spot. One of them, of course, the Hungarian superstar that is Krzysztof Rozovsky. What a turn there from Rozovsky. Sitting second, we have Acarenza. Clement still in 7th position behind our Spaniard Carlos Garich Benito. So the final lap underway now here in Golfo Aranci. The weather has cleared out a bit, and it should be a fantastic end to the race. And what a race it has been. the return of open water World Cup swimming to Italy. It has been a long time between drinks for the Italians in the World Cup open water swimming, and what a way they've delivered. 3 swimmers in that lead pack of 7 now, all contending for the title today, and of course all 3 of them looking to represent their country at World Champs. Unfortunately, only 2 of them will get that honor. As to who it will be, we'll find out as we make our way towards the finish line. So plenty of storylines coming out of today's race, and not all of them have been written. But Carlos Garage Benito, the 18-year-old from Spain, has been nothing short of sensational. By sure, the best race he's had so far in his young career. And it has been incredible to see him race. So we've just got an update on the sprint totals for today. Of course, these athletes need to finish out the race for these points to get classified. But no doubt our leader, Krzysztof Rosowski, 90 points. I expect him to hit the lead for the overall sprint title so far through the first 2 races. David Bethlehem sitting in second. We did expect him to feature. Got an inside tip from Bailey Armstrong, the Australian. Thanks very much, Bailey. Domenico Accarenza of Italy sitting third. Guidi of Italy in fourth. And Carlos Garage Benito fifth on the sprint totals for today. This is, of course, assuming all 5 athletes are able to finish their race. Regardless, though, you should be getting very, very excited for the finish of this race. 7 athletes in contention. Oliver Clement was the big mover in lap number 4 and 5. Rosowski owned lap 5 and has owned our sprints throughout the race. I wonder if it's going to take a toll. Accarenza currently sitting in second, and he's sat comfortably throughout the race. Guidi was absolutely fantastic through the early stages of lap 1 and has sat comfortably since, having to make a couple of key moves to bring himself into that front pack, but regardless is in contention for the win. And of course, the man that has controlled the pace throughout the day, the hometown hero, the man that got the biggest cheer through the opening gates, and of course our reigning world champion Gregorio Paltrinieri within striking distance as well. He did miss some feeds early as a part of his tactics. We're wondering to see if that has any effect on his overall strength to finish the race. Only time will tell, but regardless, it is going to be another cracking finish to what has been a fantastic race and a fantastic way to start this year's series. So strap yourselves in. We've got about 10 minutes of swimming ahead of us till we crown our champion for Golfo Aranci. And we know who the Italians will be cheering for. 3 of them represented in the top pack. 1 Spaniard, 2 Hungarians, and 1 German, all vying for contention to take not only our overall title for today, but also, in the case of Carlos Garage Benito, looking to take the title for our junior athlete, just 18 years of age. This is a fantastic swim. His 1500 PB currently sitting 15 minutes 11 seconds. This is a fantastic effort by the young Spaniard to compete with the likes of Rosowski, Paltrinieri, Accarenza. So as we approach our final 2 turns, expect to see some movement here from the field. Rosowski, of course, still out in front with his strong stroke, keeping those legs intact. They come down now to turn Rozovsky, probably the best of the open water skilled swimmers in the race, really knows how to get himself around packs and of course the turn can. So as they come down now to turn for the final 2 times and they'll make their descent on the finish line, expect some gaps to open here for Rozovsky. The other swimmers in the race, Acarenza especially sitting in second, will know that and try and move up on the inside of the Hungarian. In fact, he's moving to the outside now of the Hungarian. Try and get up on that hip. They go under the turn can there. Very nice turn as expected by Rozovsky. Acarenza keeps contact though. Guidi in mix as well, and we can see Oliver Clement making his move now in 4th position. So he, keeping in mind, Oliver Clement swam back up from a minute down on that chase group, swam up by himself, and is now sitting in 4th position behind the 2 Italians in there as well. Bethlehem, of course, Carlos Garich Benito, and the reigning world champion. So here we go down to the final turn, and they'll make that ascent into the finish line. The Italian crowd cheering them on along the way. We saw how big the introduction was for our Italian athletes. So Rozovsky leads Acarenza and Guidi. Clement in 4th. He is absolutely flying. In fact, it might even be Clement sitting in 3rd now alongside Guidi. So into the final turn, it is Rozovsky to Acarenza. Not a lot of change there, but Clement now sitting in 3rd position. It is a sensational swim from the German. He has well and truly put himself on the map as one to watch in the last couple of rounds of open water World Cup action. Rozovsky does look absolutely sensational. His strong stroke, they'll swim into this chop on the final straight. I think he'll be hard to beat from this point, but of course, with that final sprint we saw Leonie Beck do at Egypt in the Egypt race of round 1, you just throw anything you've got left at that race. You can see Paltrinieri starting to move forward as well. Carlos Garich Benito trying to move forward with him, and Bethlehem, the Hungarian, also in the mix. So no one's necessarily out of the race here as we move into the final straight. Our chase pack are going to have to settle for 8th position and beyond. They're not going to mix it. It was the fantastic and deliberate move by Gregorio Paltrinieri on that 2nd lap to just absolutely blow up the field. He knew the size of the pack would work against themselves if he was able to establish a gap early, and it has done that. Unfortunately for Paltrinieri, 6 swimmers came along with him, Clement coming in the latter stages of this race, and you can see the pace is well and truly on in a fantastic venue that is Golfo Aranci, home of round 2 of the World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup. And so far, it is the Hungarian that has stolen the show for the back third of this race. Krzysztof Rozovsky now looking sensational as he swims into the chop head on. The kick is out, the strong stroke rate is up, and we can see his Italian compatriots starting to fade off the back. And Oliver Clement, the German, who's come back from a minute off the pace, has moved his way past Acarenza and into 2nd position on the feet of our leader. We can start to hear the cheers of the crowd getting behind the Italians, of course. Oliver Clement up against Acarenza on the outside of the course there. Behind Acarenza, we can see Paltrinieri and his loping stroke. Guidi of Italy also in the mix, but Rozovsky leads the way. They've dropped about 10 from the field today. The pace has been hot, the water's been cold, and the swimmers have been sensational. As we come down now, about 400 meters to swim, and you can hear the crowd starting to lift behind the Hungarian and the lead pack of 7. The whitewash is sensational. The chase peloton of about 30 swimmers has gone really wide around this final corner. Regardless, there won't be a change in the top 7 of our athletes. A big shout out, Carlos Garage Benito, the young 18-year-old from Spain, has been sensational. I don't think he'll have enough to feature in the medals today, but regardless, he is flying and in a fantastic position for his country. So Rozovsky leads, Acarenza, Clement, Guidi in 4th in a battle with his countrymen in, of course, Paltrinieri. We've lost Bethlehem and Carlos Garage Benito, but those are our top 7 swimmers as they come down now. Rozovsky looking absolutely incredible. He's opened out about a half a body length lead to those chase 2 swimmers in Clement and Acarenza. At this pace, sensational effort. It's really absolutely a masterclass to be able to pull off that much power and of course speed to open a gap over the rest of the field. But Rozovsky showing why he's not only been a dominant swimmer the last couple of years, but almost leading into a decade. The power of the Hungarian continues to amaze us. He of course was the dual champion of the World Open Water Series winners last year, tying with Gregorio Paltrinieri. He did race a few more races than Paltrinieri, wasn't able to beat him in 2022, so this is going to be a sensational effort if he's able to get over the top of Paltrinieri and establish himself as one to watch as we go into Fukuoka. Rozovsky is out in front and pulling away. He's putting in the big efforts. He said in the lead up to this race he had been doing a fair bit of work, and clearly it's paying off here as he's pulling away even more from the field. Acarenza and Clement currently sitting in 2nd and 3rd. They are trying their hardest to match the speed of the Hungarian. They obviously have to watch about Guidi and Paltrinieri behind them, and Bethlehem and Carlos Garage Benito also within striking distance. So 7 swimmers into the finish chute area. About 300 meters to swim now is the update I've been given, and we'll see who comes out on top, but I can't see anyone getting over the top of the Hungarian from this point. He looks absolutely sensational, does Krzysztof Rozovsky. We've just had an update. We've lost another swimmer from the race, unfortunately. Brendan Gravely, who was featured in those sprint points, is out of the race, unfortunately. But regardless, we've got 7 swimmers swimming their way into the finish line. Krzysztof Rozovsky leading the way. So get behind our swimmers here. There's nothing more exciting than the finish of an open water swimming race. Rozovsky is going to take a mammoth effort to get over the top of the Hungarian here. He has been at the top of our sport for a number of years now. You can see now Acarenza taking a different line, trying to come in a bit closer, cut the angle to the finish line. Rozovsky's picked that up. You saw under the last stroke. He's got him in his eyesight. Clement behind the feet of Rozovsky. He has some work to do, but potentially could swim on the inside of the course to the finish line. Here we go, 100 to swim now. Rozovsky leads, a lead pack of 5. Those will be the medals. What order, we'll find out. Paltrinieri moving through. Clement still sitting strong. The German who's come from a minute back. He's going to be up in the mix for the medals, but no one is going to get in the way of Krzysztof Rozovsky, who swam forward at the end of lap number 4, has made his presence felt through lap 5, taking home the sprint title today. He's played it to perfection, and he's going to walk away with the gold medal as he comes down with just over 50 meters to the finish line. It will be gold to Hungary. Krzysztof Rozovsky showing once again he is a force to be reckoned with in this sport. Acarenza and Clement will battle for the minors, but the day belongs to Krzysztof Rozovsky. He used the experience and the excitement of Paltrinieri to his advantage, and he will claim yet another World Cup Series win as he makes his way down this finish line to take home the gold medal in what has been a dominant display of open water swimming. Well done, Krzysztof Rozalski. Clement in third. It is Acarenza in second. Paltrinieri gets fourth. Guidi gets fifth. It was in sixth there. It was Bethlehem. And in seventh, the youngster from Spain, Carlos Garich Benito. And what a way to cap off the men's race here in Golfo Aranci with a win to Hungary in dominant fashion. Krzysztof Rozalski showing once again he is a force to be reckoned with, and watch out Japan, he's coming for Fukuoka. We welcome home now our chase pack. They got dropped in that second lap thanks to the speed of Paltrinieri. He was too good for the field as we get that fantastic shot of the finish line and all the Italian fans cheering them on. It wasn't Paltrinieri's day today. He spent a lot of cookies throughout the race and didn't have enough in the finish, but I'm sure with some work with the coach that will be ironed out, and he will be once again competing with Wolbrock and of course our Hungarian champion Rozovsky. So here we go. You can't see our chase pack finish, but here is the chase pack coming across the line. It's a big pack. It will be the German out in front who had to lead the chase for a long time. I believe that's Marc-Antoine currently sitting behind them for second in this chase pack. That's ninth overall, but eighth will go to the German. What a finish. I'd love to get some of the opinions of these athletes. Obviously, not the easiest thing to do is chase Gregorio Paltrinieri from lap 2 onwards, but the whitewash shows you how healthy the sport of open water swimming is in the world. 85 athletes took to the water today in the men's race. 27 federations on display, and we continue to see this sport develop. So it was Rob Muffles, in fact, the German, to come over the line in 8th position, a minute 40 back from the lead. Paltrinieri once again showing the dominance that he can display over this distance. Acarenza takes the applause from the crowd, coming in second. And I tell you what, the swim there that we saw from Oliver Clement, I don't think that can be understated. To swim from a minute down into the mix is just absolutely sensational. So of course we'll hear from our athletes shortly, and as well we'll have our medal ceremony for our victorious swimmers in not only the overall standings but as well the sprint standings and our junior standings overall. And then we have our women's race just around the corner.
quindi appuntamento a fine luglio con i campionati del mondo, facciamolo, prolunghiamolo e facciamolo più forte questo applauso, fateci sentire l'energia di Golfo Aranci! Ladies and gentlemen, here with the World Cup champion of this leg, Christoph. What about you? What do you think of this amazing race of this sea? Do you think the course was very simple? So what about the race? Tell me something about it.
It is really nice to be here. It would be a little bit better for me if it would be 18 degrees so we could swim in our wetsuit, but it's fine now. Greg made it really hard in the first half of the race to stay with him, so it was really hard for me, but in the last lap I felt that I can maybe make this race now, so I'm really happy that I could beat Greg and Naturalism because they are one of the best all of them, so yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please make some noise for Christoph Hungary. E quindi molto contento anche l'ungherese che esce vincitore da questa tappa della 10 km maschile, contento di gareggiare con i grandi nomi del nuoto in acque libere, Gregorio Paltrinieri, Domenico Accerenza, contento di gareggiare in questo fantastico mare, nel mare della Sardegna e nel mare di Golfo Aranci. Ecco tutti quanti gli atleti, facciamo di nuovo un grandissimo applauso a tutti i protagonisti della 10 km maschile. Ok, quindi vi comunichiamo che tra circa mezz'oretta inizierà anche la gara femminile, gli atleti si stanno già preparando in zona atleti e quindi rimanete qua con noi, poi al termine anche della gara femminile procederemo con le premiazioni qui a Golfo Aranci, qui sul golfo, uno dei golfi più belli della terra della Sardegna, e con il suo mare è protagonista della seconda tappa della World Cup. Your attention please, in 5 minutes we will start with the last briefing for the females event. Please, all the female swimmer of the 10K immediately to the last briefing tent. Thank you. Attenzione, 10 minuti al briefing femminile, quindi cortesemente chiediamo a tutte le atlete partecipanti alla 10 km di raggiungere la camera di chiamata. Grazie. E quindi via tutti gli atleti del settore maschile stanno completando la gara, lo staff di giuria è già a lavoro per verificare la validità della classifica, tra qualche istante saremo pronti a mostrarvela sul tabellone elettronico e a ufficializzarvi quanto detto prima. 3 of this race. So the winner of the gold medal is Krzysztof Razowski, Hungary. The silver medal goes to Domenico Cerenza, Italy, and third position for...
So what a way to cap it out there. The officials now rectifying the results. Krzysztof Razowski taking the win. And of course, we'll be back in action at 12:30 to watch the women's race in the round 2, Golfo Aranci, here at the World Aquatics Open Water Swimming World Cup.
Domenico Cerenza vince la tappa di Golfo Aranci, la seconda tappa della World Cup. Krzysztof Razowski, Ungheria. E fatelo sentire forte questo applauso. So ladies and gentlemen, official now walking to all the ranking, and in a few minutes we will be able to show you on the electronic scoreboard. Quindi, come detto poco fa, il staff di giuria sta lavorando per confermare tutte quante le posizioni di questi 10 km maschili, quindi tra qualche istante il tabellone elettronico verrà aggiornato con tutta la classifica completa.
Non è mancato 2. 4, 2, la Capittineria questa qua. Ok.